The greenhouse effect is a process by which the sun's radiation passes through the atmosphere, reflects off the Earth's surface, and is absorbed as heat by GHGs such as CO2, O3, H2O, N2, and O2. This causes Earth's temperatures to increase. Many human activities like cattle grazing, air travel, cars, industrialization, production of fossil fuels, electricity, and energy production, and forest fires emit GHGs. The more GHGs emitted, the more heat trapped in the atmosphere, and the higher Earth's temperature will be. A positive effect of climate change on the Arctic could be the melting permafrost. Permafrost is a thick subsurface layer of soil that remains frozen throughout the year. If the permafrost melts, Arctic regions would be able to grow crops and grow a better economy. Sea ice in the Arctic is drastically declining. It has been decreasing 14% per decade for the past 30 years. It is estimated that in 2030, there will be no sea ice in the summer. Melting sea ice has many local and global effects. Sea ice is a part of the polar bear's habitat, and its melting affects their ability to hunt, and means they have to go longer without food. This in turn affects their reproductive system. Also, melting sea ice can leave them stranded in the ocean. Melting sea ice and the effects on the lives of the polar bears has led to a 22% reduction in the polar bear population between 1987 and 2004. Bowhead whales are also affected by the melting sea ice. It is suggested by research that the bowheads will never be able to successfully adapt to ice-free water because they are heat intolerant. Furthermore, bowhead whales need the ice cover to protect them from their main predator, the killer whale. Melting sea ice affects the Earth's albedo.
Picture a simple theoretical planet. Simpler. Simpler. Keep going. Nope, that's too far. That is just a dot. Not even trying. Okay, there. This is Daisy World, a place where only two things live, black daisies and white daisies. In the early days, the atmosphere of Daisy World is cooler, and black daisies thrive in these cooler temperatures. The black daisy population does so well, in fact, that it absorbs more energy and begins to warm the little planet. But now it's too warm for black daisies, but it's just right for the white daisies to blossom and expand. And while the planet is covered with more and more white daisies, they begin to reflect more energy back into space. We call this amount of reflectance albedo.
Heat from the sun is reflected by the sea ice, but as global temperatures rise, sea ice melts as there is too much heat. As the sea ice melts, the heat is absorbed by the ocean, thus warming ocean temperatures and ocean currents.
All of our weather systems, our large-scale weather patterns, are driven by that temperature difference between the equator, which receives most of the sun's energy, and the polar regions, which receive very little of the sun's energy. But if you change that difference in the temperature between the two regions, you change the speed of the large-scale weather systems that move around the planet. As you change the temperature gradient, these weather systems start to move more slowly through our atmosphere, and you can get more extreme conditions such as droughts and floods that just last longer in a particular region because these weather systems are moving that much slower. And so there is a connection between what happens in the Arctic and weather in the lower latitudes. And we knew that if the climate started to warm and you start melting snow and you start melting ice, you're going to have this sort of feedback effect that's going to amplify the warming, because you're going to warm up, you're going to melt more snow, you're going to melt more ice, it's going to further warm everything up and melt more and more snow and ice. You have this really vicious positive feedback loop. So we knew that the Arctic was very sensitive to increases in temperature, and it's responding like you would expect it to as the temperatures have warmed. So it is sort of our early warning system. We did expect changes to happen first there compared to anywhere else on the planet.
Melting sea ice and glaciers in the Arctic due to climate change will cause a significant increase in sea levels. In the past 100 years, sea levels have risen 6 to 8 inches. Practice good car maintenance by making sure tires are properly inflated, getting regular tune-ups, changing oil regularly, and keeping your air filter clean. Cutting down trees contributes 1.5 billion metric tons of carbon to the atmosphere each year. By reducing timber harvesting and clearing a forest, we are able to eliminate a significant chunk of greenhouse gas emissions. The Arctic may seem far away, but it is very important in shaping the overall climate of the Earth. It's hard for one person to carry the world and fix problems in the Arctic, but if we all do our share, we can make a huge impact. It's important to combat climate change in the Arctic to ensure environmental sustainability all over the globe.